All right, coming off a much-needed bye week. I'm telling you, it was a really good time to self-reflect and also do some self-scout stuff, get some development work in with some of the younger guys, and the main thing, get healthy. It was good. We got 15 kids back in practice. This really starting really Thursday, and then moving into today, we've had 15 guys back, in this past week. So a lot of good energy right now. We're ready to move on to our conference play. But like you talked about what we did this past week, we practiced them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Gave them Friday, Saturday off to just get some time to get away from the facility. But there was a lot of guys that had to get back into the acclimatization period, so just being out for 10 days. So they got to do some extra work on Friday and Saturday, and changed up the practice a little bit on Sunday. Typically, we don't practice them. It's more of a lifting and a meeting time, and we run them. But we actually lifted them and got them out there and had a pretty good practice and uppers practice, just to kind of get back in the swing of things. My experience with this in the past, if you've ever had a bye week and you give them a few days off, especially when Thursday is your last day of having a football out there and just getting back in the routine. If you give them off Thursday all the way to Tuesday, it turns out to be a pretty bad Tuesday practice. But had a great energy on Sunday. Kind of got back in the swing of it. It was a much needed break that for those guys. Some of them got to go home, see families, see friends, and kind of get their minds away from this facility for a little bit. And they came back recharged. Had a good team meeting yesterday, along with an optional lift, and then ended up having probably one of the more energy we've ever had for a Tuesday practice, and a lot probably had to do with the Sunday and being the time away. But these kids are ready to get back into conference play. We got 8 straight weeks of this. We got 2 months ahead of us, 8 games, conference play, and we know it's a tough conference. You got a South Alabama opponent coming in, which is a very quality opponent. They got a lot of energy, a lot of momentum going on right now. They're 3-1. I believe they should be 4-0. You look at how that last week's game ended versus Louisiana. They came out and they were down 20-0 in the first quarter, and they ended up, fighting their way back and really played, great team football there for really the last 3 quarters of the game. And, they had unfortunate, there were some weather issues. They had an unfortunate blocked PAT, missed PAT, and, they went for 2 and missed it. And then they also had the opportunity to kick a field goal with a minute left in the game to win it and missed that one, unfortunately. And they also had a 4th down and 1 on the 3-yard line that ended up being a drop in the end zone. It was 7 minutes to go in the 4th, which would have probably put that game away as well. So ball didn't bounce their way in that game, but they should be 4-0. They play great defense. They're one of the better defenses in our league. You talk about I think they're first in the country in red zone efficiency, and I think they're third in the country in third down efficiency. So, we've got to be able to make contested plays. We got to be able to get the ball in play and understand that everything that we do is going to be earned in this game. A very unique scheme. They're a single high defense with man concepts and zone concepts, and mixtures of them all. So it'll be a great challenge for us. And you look at them on offense, they've you got Major Applewhite as their offensive coordinator. They've done a really good job there. He's an 11 and 12 personnel, and he shifts and trades and motions and creates a lot of eye candy, a lot of window dressing. And I think Jalen Tolbert, their receiver, is one of the best in our league. Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's obviously averaging about a little over 100 yards a game, and the kid's pretty dynamic. So, experienced team, across the board. I think it's going to be a great challenge. I think our kids are ready to get back out there again, and great opportunity, 6 o'clock kickoff in Bobcat Stadium, and be excited to get this thing back going again. So, questions?
Coach, you mentioned you're going to have a lot of players back this week after the whole COVID situation. How much do you think that factored in the last 2 weeks, especially going on the road to Ypsilanti? How much did that affect y'all?
I don't make any excuses with it. I don't. It is unfortunate at times, like just kind of how we operated over the last 2 weeks. But it is what it is. You can sit there and you can talk about, we didn't have depth and we had a lot out in our 2 deep and, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, we didn't win. We didn't get the job done, and I don't believe that the COVID issues were the issue for us losing. We're in like, if you look how the Eastern Michigan game played, it was close in those 3 quarters, and then they knock out 21 points in the 4th. You look at the Incarnate Word game, it's close the entire game. It comes down to us, playing team football and being more efficient in what we do. But you look at, the leadership side of it. You had 2 team captains out. You had a lot of your 2 deep out. We had issues with practice, and and that happens. But like we gotta understand that adversity happens in this game, and there's no excuses, and no one's gonna feel sorry for you with that. And that's not the reason why we lost the games. We lost the games because we made too many mistakes, and we're playing a little bit too uptight in my mind. I think we're pressing a little bit. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves. When we play loose and we cut it loose, I think we play our best ball. I told our team, what's the difference between the first 2 games of the season and the last 2 games of the season, and I know we had guys out, but like I thought, we played more efficient team football in those first 2 games of the season. In the last 2 games of the season, I thought we were kind of going back to our 2020 days, and we've addressed it. We've had a lot of individual meetings, one-on-one meetings, team meetings, guest speakers, all that stuff over the last, really week and a half, and I believe that they're in a good spirit. That I think there's a great energy, and they're practicing extremely hard and well. But my whole thing is like we need to translate that to the game. It's you guys are practicing the right way, you're preparing the right way, you're making those same plays. We made a cut up after the Eastern Michigan game of the guys like in a Tuesday, Wednesday practice making those plays, doing their assignments, and then it not translating in the game. And you talk to our kids, and sometimes they feel like they need to try to make a play, and which is what you don't want to happen. It happens to everybody, but not to the extent that we did versus Eastern Michigan. We need to do our job. If your responsibility is to take the quarterback on his own read, then you got to take the quarterback. You can't go chase the running back at times. And if you need to get to 15 yards on depth, then you need to get to 15. You don't need to get to 10. It's things that they've practiced well, but like I feel like that we're in a mental block a little bit on over the past 2 games, and I think we're going to overcome that and be able to translate that a little bit better on the game Saturday.
Coach, you mentioned how much self-reflection you've done over the past week. What were some of the things you really tried to focus on during the bye?
Well, a lot about what I just kind of discussed. You sit there and you're like, all right, it's the way we practice. Is it personnel-driven deals? Like, are we putting our kids in the right schemes? And you're always going to be critical of play calling. You're always going to be, but like at the end of the day, like whatever play you call, like there's going to be a weakness. There's going to be there could be a guy left in a man coverage that he's got to win that one-on-one battle. If you're in maybe a run fit and they have an added hat, like you may have to end up, flipping the play, or you have to be getting to an RPO that you got to win a one-on-one battle. There's going to be those issues across the board. So you're critical of, are we putting our kids in the right spots and where we're at with it, and from a scheme. So then you go back and then you look at what everybody else in the country's running. It's time to go look at some other ideas. I looked at a lot of NFL teams and college teams and called around to a lot of guys, and we all run the same stuff to a certain extent. It's how can we help them out? How can we get the protection cleaner? How can we get these guys a little bit more confident in what they're doing and from a scheme standpoint? Then you look at, well, how we're practicing. Do we need to change it up? Do we need to, change up the monotony? Now we changed up practice today, and we still get the same amount of work in. We just changed up the order of it just to kind of change some things up a little bit. You look at how we practice. You look about how we prepare. Like I'm saying, you're critical of everything. You're looking at how we traveled, how we do things in the hotel, to our meeting times, our Friday, our team meetings, our unit meetings. You kind of self-reflect on, everything in your program. And then you sit there and you talk about, the mental block at times that I feel like we have of the translation of how these kids are practicing and executing, and they're showing up with great energy in practice, but why is it not translating to the game? And you work your way through that as a staff, and you're calling around and talking to other coaches and if they've ever been in these experiences before. And it's good for us to have other guest speakers come in and talk about the things we talk about on a daily basis, but it's coming from a different person. So there was a lot of self-reflection and self-thought. The bye weeks to me are always there's you put more work in bye weeks than what you do in a normal week, because you're sitting there trying to think of other things and then still trying to get ahead. And I did have an opportunity to watch some college football on Saturday, and you sit there and you're like, everybody's got issues at times, like that was a wild weekend of college football, and I'm glad I wasn't a part of some of those games. And at that time I had my issues in the Eastern Michigan game, and then now you sit there and you look at it and you're like, all right, like this is what we got to do moving forward. Now you got to make sure that your team and your culture is right, and there's no finger pointing and there's no division, and we have none of that right now, which is a good thing. Now we got to move forward and make sure that we start translating how we practice and how we prepare into our game on Saturday.
You already talked about the Tolbert kid a little bit. You've obviously seen him 2 years in a row, but what pops about him and what maybe makes him different than most, if not every receiver in this league?
Yeah, it's his playmaking ability, man. It's phenomenal. Like, cause like the people are doubling him. They're playing cover 3, and he's still going and making those plays. You watched the game last week. They're in a 2-minute scenario. There's about 3 minutes to go in the game. Louisiana runs a cover 3, and they throw a jump ball to the kid, and he just jumps up there, out athletes everybody, and catches it and gets him in field goal range. And gave him an opportunity to win that game. But been a fan of this kid for a while. You sit there and you watch how he plays and how he's progressed over the years. He had a great season last year, and then he's even having a better season this year. He's not scoring probably the touchdowns that he would like to do, but he's making a lot of plays out there. But he's a long, athletic kid, and he's got great speed. So that's definitely, I think he is the strength of that offense, because you sit there and there's certain plays that you believe that the defense is in the right position, and he's out there making the plays, and that goes down to him just being a great player.
Defensively through the first 4 games, allowing about 38 points per game. What changes need to be made to kind of get that number down?
Yeah, there's a lot. Like if you look at the first 2 games of the season, I thought they played pretty well. And then you look at the last 2 games of the season, and had to change up kind of some scheme, and we had some depth issues, so we had to get into some more zone concepts at times. We were more man in those first 2 games of the season. You hold a Baylor team to 27 points. It's actually less than that. We threw a pick 6 in it, and we had a safety in that game. And then you hold, FIU to 17 points. They were playing pretty well in those 2 games. Like what happens too, it's kind of a team effort in those last 2 games. I thought the offense 3 and out at times put the defense in way too many positions. You look at the fourth quarter of the Eastern Michigan game, I had to go for it on fourth down and about like 8 on like the -25, -30. That just puts them in already a position. But yeah, everybody's going to be critical of your own position groups and where you're at. And defensively, we've got to find a way to get off the field on third down. And we did a lot of things on third down, it was things where we were doubling guys. We doubled probably about I think they're 11 of 14 on third down, and we doubled the primary target on 5 of them, and the guy made the play over us, and that can't happen, and I've kind of talked to our team about our biggest issue with third down is that it is third down. You guys play great on the first and second down. You get them into these long critical moments, and then all of a sudden it's like we play way too uptight, and they execute it, So we've got to be able to get off the field on third down, and then offensively we've got to sustain drives so we're not putting the defense on the field so much, we've tinkered with a lot of different things, and I think we're going to bring a lot more ideas to the table, and moving forward in these next 8 games, without giving away everything.
Well, Coach, looking at South Alabama, you guys are tied for first in red zone offense, and they're tied, or I think they're number 3 in red zone defense. How do you see that battle kind of shaking out?
Yeah, they're really good, really sound in what they do. I think they got good players on defense. He's got a lot of faith in those DBs because he puts them in man in a lot of situations, and we've got to be as efficient as we possibly can. We can't be moving backwards versus these guys, because I feel like when they get you kind of behind the chains or in longer situations, that's when they can bring a lot of pressure on you, and they can disguise, and they bring people from all over the place. They're popping backers, dropping people in space, and what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we don't get in. We've got to be able to in our good runs, we got to hat it up and get yardage. And then when we have opportunities to throw on the perimeter, we've got to work through progression. We got to get it through checkdowns. We got to end up, it's really, you got to play clean football when you get down there, because I feel like teams will get down there and they shut them down pretty well, and they do a really good job at that. So it's going to be a tough challenge. We've already addressed it with our offense, and we got to rise to the occasion and rise to the challenge of them.
We saw some changes to the O-line against Eastern Michigan. Saw Dobson move to left guard. Eddie Rebitz out there at right tackle. It's going with the same changes this week in South Alabama, or is it still kind of figuring out what the deal is with the O-line?
We're still moving around. We got Russell back this week, so we'll see where he can go, which helps. We also got Silas Robinson back this week, so that's going to help out as well with the depth of everything. But you would love to have a tackle out there. Eddie's just not ready yet. He tells us he is, but you can tell when you come off of the surgery that he had, it takes a while. And we had him in the first half at right tackle versus Eastern Michigan, and we're going to probably maybe move him back into guard. And then move Liam Dobson back out to right tackle. We got to see where Russell goes. But, you have a consistency with Fletcher and Kyle Ergel and Dalton Cooper right now. It's really our left guard and our right tackle situation is kind of a revolving door of where it was. That's the thing. You go to our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice last week, and we did, you get to, the Thursday practice, and we did 20 plays a team, and we had 12 different O-line units. So you're just moving guys around and trying to get them back acclimated, get them back going again. It was great. Russell Baker was, so out of shape, in that first week, because he hadn't played in a while, and it was good to just get those guys back into a rhythm and a routine of it. So you're going to probably see, all those guys get in there with Jaden Smith, Eddie Rivas. Liam Dobson will move from guard to tackle and then throw Russell Baker in the mix. He also got Alex Castilla back this week too, so that's another addition as well, so to get him back in. So practice was fun today because we could go ones versus twos and twos versus ones and everything instead of just playing offense versus defense. So it was good to get those three O-linemen back.
Even with all the moving parts in the O-line, Charles Fletcher's seemed to have played pretty well from my evaluation the first few games. Had some good plays against Eastern Michigan. Talk about him a little bit. I know you've talked about how he's kind of one of the smarter guys on the O-line, but tell us about Charles Fletcher.
Yeah, Fletcher's doing well, and we've been protecting him. That's also why, practice over the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to pull him on some of the stuff because he's the one guy that's been going every single snap, and that's a wear and tear on the body. But Fletcher, he plays with an aggressive nature that I love. He's athletic, where you can pin and pull him and get him on the perimeter. And, again, he's very intelligent with what he does. So he doesn't make very many mistakes, and that's tough to do, especially with all the looks that happen in college football that you get on a daily basis. He has a very good understanding of what Coach Turner wants and how our scheme is, and he's really good at making calls to get the right people, the right personnel in space, and the right matchups needed. Because sometimes you got big nose guards, and he's not going to match up the best with the nose guards, but he knows how to get, Liam and Kyle Ergel down on people where he can pull and get in space and get that moving. So I've been really pleased with Fletcher through these first 4 games, and he looked good out there today. He's healthy, and I think he's ready to roll.
I had a chance to talk to Jada Gibson today before practice. What's been your impression of her, in the year and a half that she's been able to be out here coaching the guys?
Jada, love the family that she comes from. Her brother Jalen played here. She continues to break barriers, is what she does. Comes from a good family, like I said. She shows up every single day. This is a tough profession now. It's early morning, long nights, and especially when you're a student, she's putting that time in. I think she's really changing the culture and the times of college football and NFL football. There's a lot of people that are in her corner, and we're rooting for her as well. And the thing is, she's not just doing this; she truly loves the game of football, and she's got a passion about it. She really enjoys coaching these guys. She doesn't care if it's offense, defense. She had the opportunity to work with the linebackers. I know she can work with the offense as well if she need to. Really happy for her, really pleased with her on her work ethic and what she brings to the table. Those players respond to her in such a great manner. They respect her, they listen to her, and she takes a lot of pride in making sure that she knows the ins and outs of a certain scheme or a drill or whatever it may be. She takes a lot of pride in making sure that she is telling it the exactly way that it should be, and trying to help these guys out as much as possible. She's a valuable asset for our program, and I think she's got a very bright future in this profession.
Is there any apprehension bringing her on, when Coach McDaniel brought her on, just because it's never been that way? There's not usually women, up until the last few years coaching. It's just a male-dominated sport. Was there any apprehension, or guys, I guess, how did you guys approach it?
No, there really was none, because, she was already working in the equipment room. And, with her brother, Jalen, it was a very easy transition, and, the culture that we have, you respect everybody that walks in these doors, and I make a big deal on that, you're not going to be a bad person when you walk in this door. You're going to treat everybody with respect, and you're going to do things the right way. And regardless if they're a janitor to, Jada to, the head coach to the strength coach, it doesn't matter. You treat everybody the same. And I think when you have a culture that you create, that allows people to grow in their profession and what they're trying to do. And it allows her to understand that, she is breaking barriers, and she's one of the first to do this. But, she's in an environment that's going to allow her to grow and learn and be the best version of herself. And and our kids understand that, you know, and I think if you have a great, you know, linebacker room like she has, like they respect her, and then they listen to her, and then they help her as well. So it's really a group effort, and I think Jada's done an unbelievable job, and I think I'm going to be you know, a fan of watching her career grow and see where it takes off, because again, she's one of the first to do this.
Oh, sorry. Do you want this one? Take it.
Coach, how important this particular week will it be to get off to a fast start? I mean, just looking at the numbers of South Alabama, it was brought to my attention that you look at the second half, their scoring difference is huge. So is that going to be important to get off to a good start?
Yeah, I think, you know, in today's time with football, I think you have to play clean football all 4 quarters. You know, like if you're probably sitting in Louisiana's team meetings right now, you know, they're probably talking about finishing the game. You know, South Alabama's probably about starting fast, you know, and having that same mentality of how they finished Louisiana game, but do it, you know, for 4 quarters, you know. But what you see with them, you know, I think, you know, they're very bright defensive coaches, and, you know, they figure out how teams are attacking them early, and then they're good at making their adjustments moving forward. Like, what we have to do is we got to start fast with all the new wrinkles that, you know, we'll throw at them, which every team will throw new wrinkles in those, you know, early in the game at. It's about the adjustments and where they're going, and we've got to be able to respond to their adjustments moving forward in the second half. So, but yeah, like, I'm with you on that. When we at least get momentum and we get ahead, like, you know, our kids are going to show fight, you know, and they're going to play. If you look at the FIU game, you know, we start up and, you know, and we get up 10-0 and we have that momentum. They score 17 straight and it's 17-10, and then we ended up tying it up. And then at that point, you know, it was all about finishing the game. But, you know, this whole game is about playing consistent ball for 4 quarters. But, like, I'm with you on that. Like, just from the teams that have had success on them earlier, they're ones that start fast. And we need to start fast, and then we need to be able to handle all their adjustments that they do, because obviously they're pretty good at their adjustments.
You know, you mentioned Jalen Tolbert, but who are some of the other offensive players for South Alabama that you kind of got your eye
You know,
on?
Bentley's a good player. Their quarterback. He's done a good job. You know, he's got you know, like I used to watch all of his tape when I was at West Virginia, and, you know, he's a solid player, man. And he's a transfer from South Carolina. He's a game manager, and he does some really good things out there. You know, so you've always got to, you know, have your you know, just understand that the guy's played a lot of football and he knows what he's doing. He comes from a great coaching background and has got a great family of quarterbacks, you know. So you got to make sure that we try to, you know, at least rattle him a little bit as much as we possibly can, because if he gets comfortable, he's a pretty lethal quarterback. Their running backs, their tight ends are experienced. Their O-lines, they play extremely well together. You know, you can tell that they got a great continuity up front. Their tight ends are experienced. Their running backs are downhill guys. You know, they're going to do some great stuff downhill that, you know, just it's all about first downs with them. You know, they're going to motion and trade and shift and all that, like I was saying, and formation you. Keep their run game simple and their pass game simples, but have a million different, you know, presentations of it all. And just those backs know what they got to do. They got to get first downs. They got to get downhill, and they have the potential to hit home run shots. But, like, more like, I'm just impressed with how tough they run and how many extra yards they get.
You know, I know you mentioned Robinson and a few other guys that are coming back. Are there any other guys coming back that we are missing, or are there also any injuries that we may not know about?
Yeah, there's really don't have many major injuries right now. We're still working through trying to get Rontavious Groves back. You know, Wade L's out. You know, you look through, you know, Cordell Rogers is back. Chris Mills is back. You know, like, yeah, I feel like, you know, majority of these guys are back. You know, we'll still have some kind of game time decisions on, like, you know, Rontavious Groves, but, you know, we'll see where he's at with that. Like, you know, he's been out for the first 4 games. He's starting to be able to practice a little bit, and we'll see what he's capable of doing. But right now, I feel like we're getting our health back pretty well right now.